On the 15th of September 1916, exactly 109 years ago, the world witnessed an event that forever changed the image of war. It happened in France, near the Somme River. The British Army was assaulting German trenches when it deployed a brand new weapon, armored, tracked monsters created specifically to breach defensive lines. The idea of making a tank had been in the air for a long time. Before the war, inventors from many European nations had addressed local officials with various projects, most of them impossible to complete. The final image of tanks was shaped by the war. In 1915, Great Britain tasked its engineers with a specific mission: create a combat vehicle capable of crossing trenches with a standard width of 2.5 meters. The vehicle also had to protect its crew from machine gun fire and artillery shrapnel. A few unsuccessful submissions later, engineers William Tritton and Walter Wilson came up with their own machine. Its key design feature was a chassis with diamond-shaped tracks, which provided a number of advantages. This design reduced ground pressure and prevented the vehicle from getting stuck in craters and mud, while its overall length allowed it to cross trenches without risking a tip-over. Extra stability was provided by the wide placement of the tracks and the lack of a heavy turret. Each vehicle was to be crewed by a team of 8. The soldiers had to endure cramped conditions, loud noise, shaking, and heat. But the alternative was assaulting enemy positions on foot. This concept of a land battleship was actively supported by Colonel Ernest Swinton. The joint effort of officials and engineers soon brought results. In August of 1916, Britain sent the first Mark I combat vehicles to France. They were called tanks, as in cisterns, to prevent intelligence leaks and achieve the best possible effect in the first months of their deployment. The British Army sent its new weapon into battle on the 15th of September, during the Battle of Flers-Courcelette. The plan was to send tanks in groups of 2 or 3 in front of the infantry and cover the soldiers from incoming fire. The command wanted to use around 50 tanks, but only around half of them made it to the battlefield due to breakdowns. Suffering from heavy artillery fire and failing one after another, the machines could only crawl, but the outcome was still good. The British successfully breached the German defenses and managed to push 5 kilometers into the front line in only 5 hours. Their losses were also much lower compared to previous attacks without tank support. Numerous imperfections made tank deployment problematic, but the military saw the potential in Mark I's right away. There was basically no alternative to the trench-crossing ability of the combat vehicle. Britain continued to improve its rhomboid tanks until the end of the war. Later modifications received a wide range of improvements. For instance, the Mark IV had extra armor and a much better cooling system, while the Mark V enjoyed a more powerful engine and a new transmission that made it possible for only a single person to control the tank instead of 4. And while the first family of tanks had an enormous effect on military engineering thought across the world, the war shone a bright light on the imperfections of its design. That's why in less than 2 years, in May of 1918, the world saw new tanks with a layout that feels much more familiar today. But that's a story for another time.